Hey guys, it's December 30th, 2019, and I need a haircut. So this video is going to kind of be an update, what's going on in 2020 kind of video, what I got going over the winter, and what you can expect from the channel over the next year. It's going to be exciting, I sure hope. So I'm going to Laguna Seca right now. I'm not racing, I'm obviously in the CB7, but I'm going for two reasons. The first reason has to do with the fact that Northern California Racing Club, affectionately known as NCRC, they're actually changing hands of ownership and management from Dave and Luke, the two guys whom I've grown to love over the past 2 years. Really cool guys that have done a great job teaching people how to drive their cars and race well and race safely. It's changing to two new guys who've been racing for a long time and have been part of NCRC as well. So I just want to, congratulate them and just meet them. I'd like to know what their style is and what kind of changes they want to make for next year. Also, the bigger reason is Laguna Seca Raceway, for the first time since 1957 when it opened, it's actually changing operation management companies, and I'm going to talk more about that right now.
Back up until the early Cold War era, what you see in front of you is actually a dry lagoon, which is what Laguna Seca translates into English. The land was owned and operated by the US Army and was part of the iconic Fort Ord complex, much of which remains today between Marina and Seaside, California. In 1957, SCRAMP, the Sports Car Racing Association of the Monterey Bay Peninsula, along with local businesses, raised $1.5 million in order to lease the land and build the track recreation facility we now know and love today. The U.S. Army continued to own the land, and SCRAMP continued to run the operations of the track until 1974, when the Monterey County was deeded the entire facility grounds in a deal that never allows them to be sold again. In the last few decades, as more high-end residential real estate is built around the facility, Monterey County has faced increasing complaints about the noise, and efforts have been conducted to retire racing from the facility for good. This culminated in the middle of the last decade when Monterey County and independent auditors cited mismanagement by SCRAMP. Thus, in 2017, they were stripped of their overarching operations authority and given a 2-year contract to operate under the direction of Monterey County. That contract ends on December 31st, 2019, the day after I visited the track. Back in the fall, Monterey County decided not to renew their contract with SCRAMP and instead put the operations job out for bid. 3 companies and organizations, including SCRAMP, presented their plans to run the track, and Monterey County unanimously voted for the plan put forward by A&D Narigi Consulting, LLC. This entity is run by John Narigi, the vice president and general manager of the Monterey Plaza Hotel and Spa for over 25 years, and apparently he has over 40 years' experience in the hospitality industry. What he does not have, admittedly, is any experience running a track facility. What is further concerning to race fans is that many top-end bigwigs at the Plaza Hotel are some of the same people that reside near the track and complain about the noise. Equipped with this information, I knew I needed answers as to the future of the track for the sake of major events and the track days alike.
So I've got some pretty good news after I talked to Dave of NCRC and the new manager of NCRC. I learned quite a bit of information. So a couple takeaways. Number one, Dave Narigi of A&D Narigi Consulting, he is the new head of track operations. And Dave went to a couple meetings and was privy to a couple meetings that Kerry, one of the track operations managers at Laguna Seca, was at. And one of their meetings, he said the following, which is very good. He said that the things that make the track money, that make Laguna Seca, WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca some money, actually bring home a profit for the company, are those small club days and track days that we go to. You see in my videos, you see in a lot of other videos. Those are the things that make money. The larger events like the Rolex Monterey Motorsports Reunion, what used to be all the time there, the MotoGP, the biggest race of the year, and some other races like of that size do not make the track money. Sometimes they break even, sometimes they have a net loss after all the accounting is done. And so while I kind of knew that that was the case, I didn't know that the track days really made the track money. So John Narigi is really keen on expanding and at least sustaining all the track days and all of their influence on the track, which is really good news. So I was happy to hear that for sure. That's definitely good news. wants to make sure they continue to thrive under his management. Another thing I learned is that this is really good news for me because I really liked everybody I met with Scrap. Most of these Scrap officials, while they don't have track management, A&D Nerigi Consulting took them in. He's continuing to hire them. They just work for him and his company now, and they continue to do what they do at the track. The only one who didn't make it is a good friend of mine. Actually, I'll leave her name out of it. She did a lot of track operations and making sure things were set up for the major events. She was the only one booted out, and that was due to bad blood. She used to work for John Nerigi a long time ago. He let her go, and so he decided to let her go again. I just not too keen on the way he did it, giving her about 7 days notice. Now, the third piece of news that really affects me directly the most is the new management, two brothers who are managing NCRC from here on. They actually bought NCRC from Dave and Luke, and Dave and Luke said, why don't you just buy it from us instead of creating your own thing? And so all the people who they know, all the track goers that race there, they continue to work with. There won't be a big shift. And I talked to one of the brothers who was at the booth, and he said that, when it comes to the point by class and the open class, we're not going to change anything that's not broken. And they are thinking of making a change to the driving school where they try and get more instructors in the cars of the driving school students, which is what you saw in my video last May in 2018. You saw me doing the driving school. I didn't have any instructors in my car, so they're thinking of including that, which could be a really neat idea to increase skill faster. Have it just be included in your price for the driving school. So we'll see what they want to do with that. Didn't really talk to him specifically about the solo class that I'm currently in, but we'll see how that goes. And next piece of news that he had for me, which I was really excited about, was they want to add a chrono time series, like a time attack series at Laguna Seca. Laguna Seca did not have type of open race or time attack series before. The other tracks that NCRC race at, Buttonwillow and Thunderhill, did. They're going to come to Laguna Seca 11 times, and they are trying to work out a time attack series. And I'd love to know at what point you qualify to join that. But that is super neat because I love time attack in my car. That's what I do. It's what keeps my wife sane about this whole thing, not contact sport at that point. I've got some really cool ideas for the car for 2020, which is not what I want to get into. What are my plans for next year? Well, currently I'm in the middle of a contract that I set up with my wife where I'm not going to spend any money on the car or modify the car at all until May. And we both agreed to it. We put it in writing. I'm not going to do it. I got a Christmas present that I'll show you guys later, but not going to be modifying the car until May or racing the car until May. And that's fine. That's fine. I've got plenty to do right now. Plenty to save up for. We're looking at buying a house this summer anyway. So when May comes, though, I've got some plans. I've got some ideas. I'll just run through them real quick. Number one, we're going to get the whole oil system set up. We're going to make sure that my engine's protected by an AccuSump. I'm probably going to go with a manual valve. Everybody calls it the poor man's dry sump. I think it's just a really neat, fail-safe emergency surge of oil. So that's one of the things. And the other thing is the oil pressure gauge. I'm starting to set up that system and gather the parts for that so I can get a good oil pressure gauge. In the car, I really need to know what my oil pressure is. And the third thing is I'm going to figure out exactly what's going on with the metal shavings in the oil, which you saw earlier in the video. Whether it's bearings or not, I want to show you something. So I heard about Blackstone Laboratories out of Indiana on my forum, and I put up a post about what's going on with my motor and the metal shavings in my oil. And somebody recommended Blackstone Laboratories. And what you do for free, they send you this kit, this really cool kit. Let me show you what's inside. So here are all the pieces. We've got the container you put your oil in. You drain your oil about halfway, and then halfway through your oil draining process, you fill this up. And make sure you've driven it for a little bit before that. The oil's had a little bit of time in the motor. And then you cover it in this oil absorbent cloth. You put it in this secondary container, this plastic bag, and then you set it in this ternary container with your credit card information and everything, and you send it back sealed and ready to go. And they've got everything on there, the tracking number and everything, so you just send it right through the mail back to them, pay $28, and they give you a full analysis of the particles in your oil, what's going on in your oil, if you have additives, if you're using synthetic oil, how those are lasting over time, if any fuel's getting in your motor, and they can pretty much diagnose or sort of diagnose what's going on. And I'd like to know what those metal shavings are from. Are they from the cam? Are they from the block? Are they from the side of the head? Where are they from? Are they from the bearings? That's what I'm really worried about, because if they are from the bearings and I've lost a couple thou off one of the rod bearings or something like that, I'm going to need to deal with that before I go back to the track. So that's one thing. Then once that's all settled, if it's new bearings, got new bearings in there, and got my my AccuSump set up, my oil pressure gauge set up. I'm good on the oil for now. I don't think my temperatures are too high. So that's good. The other thing I want to focus on are the brakes. I'm going to need pronto, before I ever go back on the track, because of what I did to the front driver rotor, I'm going to need new rotors, and I'm not going to deal with the hub over rotors anymore. I'm going to go rotor over hub conversion. So I'm going to find like a 98 Acura CL 3.2 liter, the one with the V6, take the knuckles from that. The front knuckles are rotor over hub, and the rotors are the larger 11-inch rotors that I'm used to, so I can use my same calipers, pads, and everything, but I have those rotors swapped in, and then I can replace them. I'll take the rotors that are stock off, and I'll put in some slotted and drilled rotors to help manage heat. Also, when it comes to the brakes, I saw a video on Jay Leno's garage. Bizimoto brought his Wago, his Honda Wago there, and he had some brake coolers. He used them for a different purpose, pulling air from underneath out, but I would use them to actually cool the brakes. They look kind of silly. They go on the outside of the car, the wheels, and they attach to the wheels, and they're like little fans for the brakes that are constantly running, and the faster you go, the better cooling you get. Now, the last thing I'm going to focus on doesn't have to do with brakes, doesn't have to do with oil, it has to do with aero. I am concerned with the car's aero. I want more downforce, and I want more stability the faster I go. So I'm going to be looking at a couple different aero pieces, a couple different people that I'm close with on Instagram. Follow me at AF_1132 Racing, just like the YouTube channel name, for exclusive content. I've gotten some conversations going with someone called Udon Devil on there. He's got a lot of cool aero parts, and while he's not giving away all his secrets, he's found a good solution for a front end diffuser, and I'm going to look at that and look into that, and also a rear end diffuser setup, maybe custom, some sort of spoiler that's a little bit low profile that does the job, not just a giant thing hanging off the back trunk. Something a little more low profile but functional, and some side aero pieces to help direct the air around the side of the car. I would love more stability. It would help around the faster corners, such as Wayne Rainey Curve, where that's a very tough corner for me, and turn 6. Just trying to figure out my line through those corners. This should help quite a bit. So that's what we're going to look forward to in 2020. Man, I can't believe this is a new decade. New decade, same car, old tricks, new looks. All right, guys? So thanks for watching this video. This is Falconator signing out.